Si susseguono gli argomenti e gli interventi dallo studio dell'EIMA Web TV.
EIMA Web TV, we're covering many topics, and today we're talking about a theme which is particularly important in our industry. We're talking about insurance. Maybe for the first time at EIMA Web TV, I'll introduce the person sitting to my left, Pasquale Cello, Unipol agent. He is the person responsible for insuring EIMA International, and then Daniela Bruno, who is an accountant. She's an expert in sustainability. And then we have Matteo Manglaviti and Gabriele Conti, who are from Unisalute, and we'll talk about welfare with them. So Pasquale, I'll hand it over to you, and we'll be listening to the conversation. You will moderate. Yes, I'll take over, and let's talk about serious stuff now. So let me go to the point and ask Matteo straight away. Matteo is an expert in corporate welfare. How can the employee welfare become a competitive advantage for the companies they work for? Well, Pasquale, thank you so much for having me here. First of all, it is a great opportunity to spread out the idea of corporate welfare, which increasingly responds to the needs of the Italian companies, especially small and medium enterprises. So it's a matter of doing good to the company, acting on employee welfare. This is an important value message. Welfare in a company implies many benefits. For example, the daily life within the company. Secondly, there is an important challenge, which is the labor market in this industry, and then there is also tax interest on the part of the company, as well as economic interest. Welfare means giving incentives to workers by creating a good climate in the company, which boosts the results and productivity. Then talking about labor market, what are the challenges that small and medium enterprises, but also large companies are facing? We are going through a period in which talking about specialized sectors like the ones represented here in EIMA, there is a large turnover, there's a high level of turnover. You may see many employees leaving companies because they're paid better by others. So we need to retain workers through welfare. So it's there's an aspect of employee retention. Yes, it's an investment in human resources, and also tax implications. In Article 51 of the law on the income taxes, we have specific reference to this. This is a talk show. We have to speak using very simple words. I'll only mention Article 15. I won't go deeper into this. Well, what you said is really excellent. Employee welfare, Bruno and others had understood this in the past. So it's very nice. It's a very nice idea if the employees feel okay within a company. That's better for the company as a whole. And now, Gabriele, I'd like to ask you, why is it that corporate welfare is so relevant in the strategies of modern companies? Perhaps it's not implemented largely, but there's a lot of talk about this. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Now, coming to your question, I can answer that the time has changed. The situation is different on the labor market in this industry and other industries. There's a social revolution which is ongoing. Policymakers here in Italy started focusing on these themes in 2016 because major structural innovations were brought about through regulations starting from that year. We know that we're slow to transpose regulations and implement them here in Italy. We're a bit slow, but in this industry, at the end of 2024, we know that steps have been made, steps forward have been made. We, the Unipol group, have seen this evolution being implemented largely within companies. I'm referring to also tax accountants that have been made aware of this, and also through social media. A lot has been said about corporate welfare. There are branches inside the corporate welfare. There are various sectors in which corporate welfare is applied. Well, we may say, can we say that welfare is a complicated topic? Well, we have to dispel this myth. It's much easier than it is normally thought. It's much easier to implement welfare policies than talk about them. Thank you, Gabriele. Back to Matteo. Let's talk about what is actually interesting for companies, tax incentives, because that's really the topic of today. There are tax benefits. What are the tax benefits that the companies using welfare regulations can use? Let's try and make people aware of them. We've talked about the regulation already, so let's talk about practical implications. A welfare plan in a company implies that you invest in the company and in the company's employees. Well, clearly doing this in a conventional way, providing benefits to workers, implies a lot of liquidity, a lot of cash. Instead, through welfare, you have easier tax terms for companies implementing welfare policies. So without the welfare policies, you just give benefits to workers, irrespective of what you give them extra on the pay slip. Well, this implies taxation and contribution elements. Did you know this, Fabrizio? No, I'm learning this for the first time. So the company knows this very well because, the further cost is 33%, which is the labor cost. What's the benefit of welfare, of a welfare policy? You provide this money to the workers in terms of goods and services. Also insurance instruments. That's why Unipol is investing in this. They are de-taxed and they are exempt from contributions. So the company has no further costs. It's a net investment, no additional tax burdens. If you have 1,000 net in your payslip, then the cost is 1,400 net of contributions and allocations. So one is actually equal to one. We can talk about technological innovation and other nice topics, but ultimately it's money that Council. They are welfare experts. It's not easy to find such people. A question to you, Gabriele. How do you become a welfare expert? How do you gain specific expertise on a topic which is so complex? Because if you talk to accountants, they may tell you different things. Not always do we have the opportunity to talk to Daniela.
And here I'd like to advocate for this point. We were not born welfare experts, so we've become so over the years. And in fact, we have to promote the development of a welfare-based world environment by providing training within our Unipol group, and thanks to the experience acquired on the field over the years. And inside the companies, most of them SMEs, so small and medium-sized enterprises, where we can introduce more structured welfare plans. It is a very specialized, highly professional system. The Unipol Group has set up a task force on welfare. I know they've taken steps in this direction. Certainly, Unipol, starting in 2019, has set up a dedicated office. So we are in charge of corporate welfare, and we have local offices that follow the matter. So it is a kind of chain that we have set up. So let's now test your knowledge. Let me ask you another question. Can you give me some precise examples of welfare, practical examples, welfare systems that brought benefits and brought competitive advantage to the companies? Of course, I'm not going to name names for privacy reasons, but I'd like to provide some examples on health, for instance, where the Unipol Group is not trying to replace the Italian public healthcare system, but in fact we are trying to develop synergies between private and public health funds in order for both to be optimized. Let me give you a practical example related to health. Just imagine a family business or a small business. We have quite a few of them. So we have quite a few of them in Italy. So family businesses, which are, part of the very structure of the country. So independently of whether you have family members working for the company or employees from outside that may have health problems or specialist visits that they need for some health problems, you may not have a quality health coverage, and then you have to rely on the national healthcare system, and so there may be gaps to be filled. But if you can rely on high-quality insurance coverage like Unisalute, you can have access to specialists and solve your problems immediately. Well, protected worker is a happy worker, is that right? Well, it sounds very banal. I'm tempted to say yes. And here I'd like to invite all our listeners to think about their own situations, put themselves in these people's shoes. So any worker would be happy to obtain additional health coverage. Well, of course, there's a need for training and, continuous education, and, we need to grow and expand our knowledge. So this is a very important area that we should focus on, especially the end of the year. I'm really happy for you to mention, small and medium enterprises, because they contribute to the growth of this country much more than large companies. Over to you, Pasquale. Well, you're speaking very fast. I hope our interpreters can keep up with you, and you're also speaking in Latin with quotations. So, Matteo, what's the impact of welfare on employees? Are they maybe happier to get a little more money at the end of the month? Or would they rather go for benefits and a welfare plan? Well, I'd like to go back to Gabriele's point about health and expand on the same example. We're talking about an employee receiving private insurance coverage. So that health coverage will not be purchased out of their own pockets, and so their purchasing power will be increased accordingly. Until proven otherwise, these people experience an increase in their earnings, and that's a tax advantage for the company. This is a win-win situation. Thank you very much, and so everybody's happy. We're done with the first part of our session, and we're now coming to the core of our session, and it's sustainability. So let's now give the floor to our tax accountant, because, when talking about sustainability, we're dealing with a very important and crucial issue for companies and for people. We have Daniela Bruno here with us. She's an expert in corporate law and tax accountant. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. No, we thank you for accepting our invitation. Daniela, let's start from the beginning. And how comes sustainable success is so important for a company? Why is there so much talking about it? Because business, in order to stay and thrive on the market, must be sustainable. And as established by the Corporate Governance Code, sustainable success is more important than profit. So we want to optimize the shareholders' income while taking into account additional stakeholders' interest. Among these stakeholders, of course, we have the employees that we just mentioned. Thank you. So we're dispelling another legend, in fact, because an entrepreneur looking at profit only is not very successful. There must be something more. There's sustainability, environment. So as a matter of fact, sustainability can be defined by making reference to three factors: environment, social, and governance. And so we have to provide guidelines to reduce the environmental impact, while at the same time considering the social factors, the employees, the territory, and the support from public authorities. This is a way we have to go. It is an epoch-making change, and it entails a change in legislation as well. In fact, we do have the laws that have to be updated. Yes, that's true. We are talking about laws, yes. And she's a specialist. We need to be informed. We are a society and we need to have rules. Originally, those that had to report on non-financial issues were only the listed companies, but with the passing of time, other stakeholders are involved. We either have the legislation accounting for that, or it's the procurement or consumers, and young people are asking for that. So young people are not buying products coming from non-sustainable companies, and the new law or regulation introduced in 2024 establishes that both economic and non-economic data have to be reported on the accounts and the non-financial declaration. That's the name used for that. Very, very interesting. So let me go back to the employees. What are the advantages offered by welfare and sustainability for employees and not just for the business? I think you remember that back in 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in America, but it happened in Europe as well, there was the mass retirement phenomenon, because with the COVID pandemic, people started thinking about their own families, their well-being, their own health. So much so that especially the younger generations decided to work in value-based situations and companies where they could rely on shared values. So welfare is about sustainable strategy and good governance in order to retain talents and have loyal employees.
See how things change. After COVID, everything changed. COVID was really a tragedy, yet we have reflected on many values. At least it seems so. Work-life balance, for example, did not exist before COVID, but after COVID it's become quite significant, and it's also part of the 17 SDGs, which are part of the 2030 agenda. Have we got more questions for Daniela? To wrap up, I'd like to ask you about the challenges and opportunities that you see in integrating sustainability in Italian enterprises. Has there been a change in mindset among the companies? On average, yes, but not that much. I would say that sustainability is still regarded as an obligation, as a compliance obligation, and not as a strategic asset. If people would really appreciate the importance of sustainability, you would map the risks first. You would focus more on the governance of the company. But at the present time, sustainability is still perceived as an obligation. I'm an insurer. I would always prefer to insure a company that applies a welfare plan and also sustainability, because they prevent risks. So also the premium to be paid by the company should be based on such factors, on whether the company applies a welfare plan and sustainability. Sure, yes, major changes require time. Country lags a bit behind compared to others, but we're working hard in this direction, and you're certainly doing a great job. The fact that there is a new regulation that will oblige companies to also report on non-financial factors could be experienced by the companies as an opportunity and not as an obligation, not as an extra task, as an extra work to do. Can we wrap up? No, not really. We're not going to close because I have a question for you. We're here at a major international trade show which has existed for many years. It continues growing, luckily. There is great focus on farming and technological innovation, with an invitation also to young people to join this industry. There would be millions of jobs available thanks to new technologies. How has the insurance world changed towards farming in the last few decades? So farming and mechanization, just look around here. I see drones, I see computers everywhere, robots that have replaced men. Now seeding, for example, planting is done with a joystick. You can, for example, know at what time to sprinkle, at what time to harvest, what to do. So the whole world has changed. Our industry is more conventional. We build our fees on past history. And then, also the events of God play a role. The natural disasters that unfortunately have stricken our countries lately are something that we have to be increasingly prepared for. This is a topic that you may consider for another broadcasting session. Yes, we're talking about this with experts. We don't know where we're going unless we take measures. We'll be discussing this in an increasing way. Also, great attention for pollution, particulate, even pruning a garden, for example, or trees anywhere implies considering the impact of pollution of certain machines, etc. So there is focus on everything from this point of view, and insurance products have to adapt. You work with a large group. We are always a step ahead, as our advertising says. We also have some people attending here. I think there are people wanting to ask questions. You can start. Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to ask you, corporate welfare, can it be extended to any type of employee or worker who are the end users? Well, that's a very good question. Is it for a few or for all? Well, I would say for all rather than for a few. In order to answer this question, I will tell you that corporate welfare can be for hired workers and also not directly hired workers, thanks to changes in jurisprudence, which has brought about this possibility of extending welfare to certain roles. Of course, certain conditions have to be met, but specialists in this industry will always know. Take a company that has two managers, for example, a limited company. Now, if they have a payroll or something which testifies their income, they are part of the category of administrators with income, and they can have access to a welfare plan. As I said before, within the welfare plan, there are several branches, insurance and quasi-insurance systems. So welfare for all those who are in the job market. There's another question there, perhaps? No, fine. Pasquale, you're very good as a moderator.
Io ti voglio solo prendere come
Maybe you want to
cliente.
replace me. No, I only want you as a client. Absolutely, yes.
Direi che possiamo concludere.
I think we can wrap up.
Posso ringraziare io? Cosa dici? Io vi devo ringraziare.
I must thank you, really.
Pasquale Cello, che ricordo agente Unipol SAI.
Pasquale Cello is a Unipol SAI agent,
muove veramente migliaia
the
di
one
persone.
that is responsible for ensuring this trade show.
Che lo faccio.
Well, I've done this for 20 years. I've seen this trade show grow over time. Thanks to the contribution of all those that passionately work for its organization. Our colleagues in Federuna Coma are really exceptional. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. They've given us a great opportunity and we're able to grasp it. Well, I've come to the 28th year of AMA. And I also believe I'm part of Federuna Coma. I'd like to thank them and thank also Daniela, Bruno, Matteo, Manglaviti and Gabriele, Conti. You're young, don't give up because we need capable people like you. Pasquale, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.